Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep In Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals. REM, Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. And OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Canada's largest provincial real estate association. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the details of our upcoming MindShare Mastermind, as well as download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. Plus, learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 278. He is the founder of several consulting companies, a multiple author, world-traveling entertainer, and public speaker for high-stake businesses. His client list includes BP, Discover, State Farm, United Airlines, and more. His journey has taken him from doing 19,000 performances at Universal Studios to appearing on America's Got Talent to entering United States troops stationed all over South Korea. His unique perspective of working with thousands of audiences has given him powerful insights into the art and science of communication, influence, persuasion, and high-stake negotiations. This makes him not just a thought leader, but a genuine mind reader. Now, his mission is to empower more than 1 million business people to accomplish their most ambitious goals in less time than they ever thought possible. His motto is change your mind, change your life. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is the $1 Million Mind Reader, Jonathan Pritchard. Jonathan, welcome to the MindShare podcast.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. When I saw MindShare, I was like, yeah, this is up my alley. I can't wait.
Yeah, man. No, appreciate that, buddy. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm excited to have you on the show. This type of stuff, it's always scary. I know I was saying this to you off air. Getting into this mind might be really scary. Now, I know you said that you've been there, done that. I hope that didn't mean in my mind, because oh man, like it's almost like getting caught. Like, well, anyways, we won't go there.
Right. I always like to say, it's like, man, if I'm not at work, I'm not working, because like it would make friendships difficult or just hanging out casually if people are always worried you're snooping around. But it's just kind of like, listen, if this was your job, would you go into the office on your day off? Like, no, you're good. Unless if I'm on stage, I'm being paid to do it, then all bets are off. Like, that's literally my job. But yeah. Otherwise, yeah, no, everybody's brains are safe.
Okay. Well, that is rewarding. That is like just reassuring to hear that today. Because, we are on a live show, and if you started sharing what I'm saying and thinking, everybody might stop listening. No. But tell me something. I got to ask you this one. And I know that I totally, well, not totally, but flubbed when we said we went from America's Got Talent to entertaining United States troops. I don't think I said entertaining, but speaking of entertaining, 19,000 performances at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
That's a lot of performances.
Yeah, that's my first job out of college, and I got a job working at the Magic Shop in the park. So it's in Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. So you're a guest at Universal Studios to be there to ride the roller coasters and see the horror makeup show, and then there's this magic shop. So you'd go in and we would have a 12-minute show that you could buy every single thing that we did. So we were performing it, but also making it clear you can buy everything that you're seeing us do. And if you're 7 and older, you could do everything that you're seeing me do. So it's this kind of strange combination of performance and pitching and persuasion, where every word was tightly scripted, and the owner of the shop would be listening in the back room. He's like, Jonathan, you're performing too much. You're making it look too good. So then everybody in the audience thinks there's no way I'd be able to do that, and that's why you're not selling as much. This guy over here, he's an absolute idiot, and everybody in the audience is thinking, if that idiot can do it, then my 7-year-old kid could do this, and that's why he's selling a boatload of stuff. I want you to make a lot of money, Jonathan, so stop performing and just do it. So yeah, that was master's class in communication, in-person selling and persuasion and communication with people from all over the world. Yeah, we did that 12-minute show as often as we possibly could. And over the course of almost 3 years, about 2.5 years, did the math. I was working 6 days a week, every week, and ran the numbers. It was north of 19,000.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting insight. It's funny as you say that. A few things came to mind. One was I remember being in New York City and walking into a magic shop downtown, down there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Walking into a magic shop, somebody doing some sort of, demo of stuff and kind of getting you all into, you're like, but it was just to the point where like, and you can buy this one. And I'm like, yeah. So I remember, I think I bought the rings that like, they go together, they separate. Like how did the rings thing happen?
Yep.
Trying to remember what else we picked up, but I remember there was a couple things and I thought I'm coming home. I'm going to blow everybody away with this stuff. Dude, I couldn't figure out how to get the rings apart from each other. Like it just didn't work.
And that's part of the challenge in real talk of knowing, quote unquote, the trick. All right, what's the trick to making those rings work? Well, the method doesn't mean you now have the skills to make it look like magic.
Right.
And that's what happens so often in the information coaching world of people who go, oh, I'm going to buy this book, I'm going to take this course, and suddenly my life's going to be different. And it's a skill development issue, not a quality of information issue. So it's just, that's why, I mean, look at all the books behind me and all this stuff. Having all the stuff doesn't mean you're a mentalist, doesn't mean you're a magician. You actually have to put in the time to acquire the skills, just like an old kung fu master. It's skill built from hard effort over time. That's it.
I learned that one the hard way when we did the one with the box and the, put your sister in there and do the saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Parents
and then
weren't
you got a
happy with
half
that.
sister.
Yeah. It wasn't good. Wasn't good. Yeah. So John, tell us what exactly, okay. So you went from, obviously I'm going like, I'm making an assumption. I'm telling you what you did. Okay. You were a young dude. You liked magic. You obviously followed that path, I imagine, to some degree. Am I on the right track so far?
Yep.
Okay. Go and do this gig at Universal Studios, which again, I haven't been there since I was a kid, but actually somewhere I'd like to go back with my kids. But obviously now being, everybody being older and we're professionals and we're doing our job. What do you do on a daily basis now? Because you just kind of alluded like magic and mind reading and mentalist. What do you do on the daily?
It's a wide variety of things that it looks like, but it all boils down to helping my clients, whether they be companies or entrepreneurs or just people who are in high stakes environment, do better. Because the mental game is the biggest piece of that equation. That's kind of like the meta skill. Because I can't help you figure out how to change a tire better. Like that's a physical skill. Like, no, I'm all mindset side of things. So either I'm training sales teams or helping a company re-architect their entire sales process, or they're a highly technical company and their engineers have been in charge of the marketing for too long and they can't explain what they do to a perfect client. So I talk with the engineering team and the owner and everybody to define their communication, which is kind of like a rebranding, but not really kind of a thing. So it's all over the place, but it's all born from years of being on stage, entertaining audiences and making them think that I can read their minds. It's just communication skills and applied psychology.
That was a real key piece of information there, making them think that I can read their minds.
Right.
That's interesting. Now I say that in a way where it's interesting from the entertainment side of things to almost peek behind the curtain to better understand. However, as we sit here today on the MindShare podcast and think, and as I sort of said to you, probably going on air here, who our main audience is, folks that are entrepreneurs, they're business people, they're in sales. And we think about the art of negotiation. I want to get into that with you in a little bit, but we think about communication and messaging and branding and marketing. And I mean, there's so much there. And I guess that key word, which was interesting. And again, we'll dive into that more in a moment about, making them think that way. What I'm curious to find out, though, is, again, if I go back to what I just mentioned about, Times Square and going to that magic store, and I know my father loved magic, and it was just one of those things, which just, these cool little things, but never practiced enough, never actually had that desire to kind of go to that next level with it. You obviously did, so understanding, I guess, to some degree of how you got into it, how did you figure out how to make a living doing something that you absolutely love? Because I think that for many people, I know I've struggled with that over the years. I know that there's people doing stuff right now that makes them a living, but they may not love doing it. And we've long heard, get up and find something you love doing every single day, and you'll do it even better and better and better. And I would say, as I sit here today saying that to you, first thoughts that go through my mind, I love what I do now. I really do. But the journey to get here, it's not easy. How did you get there? How did you really truly figure out, what you love doing and then how to make a living at it?
I got started reading books at the library because they were free, and I grew up in a trailer park with a dirt road. So I was literally dirt poor. And the
Okay.
library was what I could afford, which was free 95. So I would go hang out at the library after school before mom was off work, and that 2-hour block I just spent reading different magic books, and the art books are right next to it. So it was all self-directed study, and I just loved magic tricks, and doing card tricks was fun. And the mind reading stuff always seemed to be the most impressive to people, so that's why I niched down even farther into the mind reading tricks. So that's how I figured out that, oh, I like this a lot. And it was a great context for me to explore my curiosity. Anything I've been curious about, there's been a place for it inside the world of mentalism, which is the technical term for the flavor performance that I do.
Okay. Okay. So there's something important that I heard there. Reading, spending time feeding your brain. And you've actually alluded to that a few times in the short time we've been on this call or on the show already today, about the books behind you, alluding to that and just how much knowledge. Do you still spend a lot of time reading now? And how important do you believe it is for everybody to really spend time on a daily basis feeding their brain?
Hugely important, especially if you are in the creative side of things. Like, if you want to create, you have to have some medium in order to work in. And if you write emails, or you're trying to write copy, or you're trying to be persuasive on stage, or talking to your prospective client, you have to have some ideas first before you can put them into action. So if you understand the value of creating a body of work, all that has to come from somewhere. And it's your experience and how you think about your experience that's the unique part that enables you to talk about topics and principles that have been around since forever. But combined with your experience, now you're putting it in your own words, in your own way. And that's the unique part of it. So I think a lot of that kind of creative block or writer's block or whatever comes from either starving your mind of raw material, so you're not reading much, so you're not getting exposed to new ideas, and you expect to make something from nothing. You're like, ex nihilo, that's impossible. Not going to happen. So give your brain a lot of new stuff to work with, and then it will synthesize it, combining with your experience. And then that's how you come up with your own unique approach to things. So that's why pretty much no matter what industry you're in or what your job is, you'll only be known for the works you create. And if you're not creating anything, good luck.
So you did a ton of reading, you did a ton of feeding your brain. I love what you just said there. I agree with it. I mean, I spend, 30 minutes a day at minimum reading. I find it hugely important. I find that you will hear a lot of the journey is typically, I don't know how to say it. The journey's the same, the story's different, the story's the same, the journey's different, however you spin it. I mean, everybody's going from A to B. How did they get there? And
Yep.
it's that trials and tribulations loaded with failure, the ups and downs, the, what did I learn? How hard did I persist when times got tough? And I think that there's some fantastic stories, and leveraging that to come up with content, to grow a business, to make yourself stronger emotionally and mentally. This is where, again, perseverance will come through and success will be found. So, you went and did all that. So, you knew what you wanted to do. Where did you start? Like, once you sort of fed the brain, and it's kind of like we're
Yeah.
on this path towards getting to where we want to go. Where did you start when it became this thing of, I'm now at the age and the maturity, or whatever you want to call it, to like, let's turn this into money making?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was in college, and there was a magician that came to my college to do his show. I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to be able to do that.
Okay,
So
cool.
I got connected with him. 6 years later, I go on the road with him as his full-time tour manager. And part of the deal was I'm not going to get paid a lot, but I'm going to see what you do and how you do it every day for 2 years. And there will be no questions off limits. I'm going to ask you about everything, and you have to answer them as fully as humanly possible. So it's basically like a paid mentorship program where I got to see exactly how he got his gigs, what he did rolling up onto campus, and everything. So I just saw the recipe and then went, okay, that's how I'm going to do it. And then I went out and started doing college shows and was touring the country doing the 70-minute interactive mind reading show for college students all over.
Okay, so let's do this then. We decided what we wanted to do. We got pretty good at it. Obviously, there was a lot of, learning along the way, and it's gotten better, I'm sure, today than it was back then, just like anything else we do in life. You're now servicing the business because you're the guy.
Mm-hmm.
What about getting all the new opportunities? How did you start to find new opportunities on a regular? Take time to find those new opportunities, actually get the opportunities. What did it take to get the opportunities? I mean, how much calling, how much follow-ups, how many relationships, how many phone calls? You know,
Yeah.
what did you do to grow that?
There are a couple different ways. The real answer for then and the real answer now are different answers. Because while I was on tour with this dude, a big part of getting the shows, there's a trade show for college entertainers. So if you're a college entertainer, you set up your booth, and then every college booker, everybody who books entertainers for their college, comes to this giant marketplace full of entertainers, and they walk around booking the next year's entertainment. So there are folks from TV, there are movie stars, there are former TV people that you might remember, but now they're in the speaking game, and there are a whole bunch of magicians and jugglers and people from America's Got Talent and all sorts of. It is the weirdest group of people you've ever met in your life. So I'm in the booth with the dude helping give away t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So I saw how he would interact with people to get booked. And the whole weekend, I'm talking to as many agents as I can that have entire entertainment agencies. So they've got rosters full of entertainers. And I know I've got about 2 years to build relationships with as many of these people as possible so that when I'm out on my own, they're going to want the new mind reader on the scene as part of their roster. So
Okay.
I built a relationship with a phenomenal woman. She's fantastic. We're still working together. Like we started in 2009 and we're still working
Nice.
together.
That's cool.
So I built a relationship with her, and since she's been in the business forever, she's the one with all the relationships with the end clients. So by building that relationship, I'm getting access to a whole lot of opportunity instead of me having to go find new opportunities every single time. Now there are some potential drawbacks. It's not the end all be all that performers think getting an agent is. An agent really only wants you if you're already busy.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I want to sell something nobody's buying anyways? Also, if they're promoting you and the client goes, no thanks, they'll also say, well, I have all these other people that you could book as well. So it's not like a manager relationship where they're only representing you and they're only getting paid when you get booked. An agent is representing a whole bunch of people and you're one of them. But the more popular you make yourself, the more well-known you are, the easier time it is for the agent to get you booked. So you still never lose the responsibility of making yourself bookable, right? So the real answer was, I found an agent and they had an opening and they're like, well, we've got magicians, we got balloon artists, we got face painters, we got all this stuff. We don't have a mentalist on the roster. Yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. And then that was a decade and a half ago.
Right. Okay. So now it's you see, this is the thing. And there's where the lines just got blurred for a moment. Prior to getting the agent who's now getting you booked, there was a lot of hard work. And I heard you went to a show. You had to be there at the show. You had to improve communication skills or be good with that so you could actually communicate with new people and start to get known. From getting known, you had to get on the phone to actually talk to these people and build more relationships with them to get an opportunity to even get booked. And that's where it really started. The agent came in after the fact.
Right.
Right.
And then on top of all of that, we kind of hit the rebranding part of my journey, because the college mind reader character, Johnny Savant, is perfect for the college mind reading area. So then I do the show and I've got a long line for autographs and that kind of thing. And I like talking to everybody who is willing to stand in the line for that. Then I start getting emails from them 2-3 years later saying, hey, you changed my whole life. Just that small conversation. I made a whole bunch of changes and here's what's going on. So that was the peek into the coaching side of things.
Awesome.
That the way that I think about stuff, not everybody thinks this way. So that might be valuable to people. So that was the coaching window cracking open. But then I want my business to be better. So I'm going to start reading business books. And every single business book talked about principles or ideas through stories and things that probably never happened because it's all made up. And then they're talking about the psychology of sales and the psychology of negotiation. And the only way they can communicate it is through parables and stories. And I'm thinking, I understand this stuff better than they do, and I can show it in real time on stage in front of 3,000 people. I'm going to eat their lunch.
Yeah.
So that's when I started the corporate speaking and consulting side of things. But Johnny Savant isn't going to get hired by BP, by State Farm. Like that guy is never getting a corporate client ever.
Gotcha.
So I had to found a company. So now I'm a founder of a consulting business, leverage all the video and photo of me being in front of lots of people as legitimizers of, I'm a great public speaker. I'm the most incredible keynote speaker you'll ever see because look at the reactions I get. So using what I'd already built from one domain to establish authority in a completely different arena, but package it in a way that helps my perfect client understand that I can help them. Because if I lead with, oh, I'm a college entertainer, they're like, we're a multi-billion-dollar company. Why in the world are we going to hire some stupid magician to come talk to our salespeople? Our sales team are full of absolute closers and killers. Like they're going to eat this guy alive. But if you are a world traveling keynote speaker, founder of a successful consulting business, focusing on the psychology of persuasion influence through right?
Hmm.
That framing, you have to present the information in the right way to the right person at the right time in order for it to be effective. So that's when it changes from the agent does most of the relationship building into a completely new market, which my agent is for colleges. That's it. So she books me at colleges, and that's as far as that goes. Anything else comes from my side of things.
It was funny. Coming into this, I saw something where you said you truly believe that to improve yourself is to improve the world once you accept the responsibility of owning your own success. So how do we accept that responsibility? And maybe moreover, what does that mean? Or maybe we even you just define that. I guess I'm looking maybe specifics. What sort of action steps can we take to do that? And why do people have such a hard time doing that?
That's a huge question that we could
It
write an
certainly is.
encyclopedia about. Basically, from my perspective, it's a lot like kung fu. I think mainly in terms of mentalism and kung fu, martial arts.
Dude, you can
And
read minds and kick people's asses. I'm thankful this is a virtual podcast today.
that's it. That's it. It's like, would you want to play poker against a mind reader? Would you want to fight a mind reader? Absolutely not. Would you want a mind reader on your team, on your crew, helping you accomplish your goals? Absolutely. That'd be like the single most valuable person on
John,
your
buddy,
team.
we're boys now. We're good, man. We're good. I got, I'm good, man.
That's it. It's good. So basically, it's kind of like somebody should, like that probably means you. Somebody should do this, somebody should do that. Like, well, congratulations, you just got the job.
Right.
And that's why the performing stuff is fun. And I would even venture to say it's noble. Kind of like Stan Lee from Marvel. He used to be down on himself because he was just a comic book writer. And then realized that, oh, it helps people enjoy their life and forget their troubles for a little bit. Same thing with performers and entertainers. For an hour, you're laughing and having a great time, and you're not thinking about all the troubles that are just outside the theater there for you. And if you've been struggling with a lot of problems for a lot of time, that brief respite could be super valuable. So that's nice. However, when you leave the theater, you're going right back to it. You might be in a better mood. You might be able to laugh about it a little bit easier, but yeah, you're going right back to those problems.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when I started getting those emails from people that I had talked to in the autograph line, it's more about not just ignoring the problems or forgetting that they're there, but fixing them.
Mm-hmm.
Making some changes so that you get more interesting problems. And to me, that's cool. So that's why if a performer can help an audience of 3,000 people forget their problems for an hour, that's neat. But if you can help a company, just the sales team, if you have 10 salespeople on the team and you can help them close one more deal a month, that salesperson's life is better. Their commission just went up. So their family and everybody that they take care of is better off. The business is more profitable. The delivery team are getting higher quality clients and projects to work on. The CEO is better off because their business is more profitable. And then all the clients that are working with that company are getting a better quality service or product at a better price. And then they've got more money to help all their clients and employees. So it's just this incredible fractal holographic thing of helping one business helps everybody else that they do business with from that point forward. So that's why I was like, yeah, I got to get into the coaching and consulting and helping businesses side of things because yeah, if you can make the world a better place, the first place to start is with yourself, mind, body, spirit, whatever. Improve that, then share it with other folks to help them, and then you can help more of the world. So that's why to me it really is persuasion is kind of a moral imperative in my book to help people help themselves.
First you were bang on it. It's certainly an encyclopedia answer. Because it goes deeper. You there was just a lot that you just shared there. Like, rapid fire, I would say, getting to be in those, standing at there as people want to take photos after you come off of a stage, telling you how great the presentation was. Like you said, we've just taken them from where they were. We've now, opened up their minds for an hour, taken them away from whatever struggles they might have had, helped them improve. What I say to most people is, listen, I'll tell the audiences this straight. I'm sure there's people listening that are like, oh, I remember when he said that. But I say, like, the biggest problem I got right now is that, you really enjoyed today's presentation. You learned a lot. You clapped, you laughed, you had fun. Most are going to do jack shit with what you just learned. And I don't want you to do that. And so, in fact, I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to send me an email and tell me that it worked. It's not about the accolades that we get today. It's about what you do in a day, a week, a month, a half a year from now that changes your life. And when it changes your life, I would love to know about it, and I don't need to know about it. But that's for me where I find gratification, satisfaction in what I was able to do from that stage. Because now, just as you said, you are actually helping people change their lives. Then, as you said about the, mind, body, spirit, and you sort of did whatever after that, I go, it is so key. It is so real. Because again, what was it that made you struggle that we were able to take you away from for that 1 hour? Well, most times it's when you look in the mirror, you're probably not happy with what you see, whether it's the physical, whether it's the emotional, there's something going on. And that's where I truly believe that the body, physically taking care of yourself, the mind, feeding it, just as we talked about with the reading, all the books, spirit, that's going to come together. And when we're strong enough there, we do have opportunities to grow in life. Now, I'm curious, how does all of this translate? And I said I'm going to come back to this before, but how does it translate into effective communication, effective negotiation skills?
Most people think because I talk a lot, I'm a good communicator.
Like that.
Not really. Because
like that.
Good communication is helping somebody else understand what you're trying to get them to understand. And a metaphor, it's kind of like forcing other people to speak your language. And how many people are going to take the time to learn your language so that they can understand your message? Very few people. They've got their own problems. If you learn how to speak everybody else's language, you're opening up more and more opportunities to help people. So if you want to be a better communicator, then understand how people are going to hear your message and work really hard to put it in terms that your audience will hear and understand.
So if we look at that then and we say, and I think that you made a fantastic point there about communication, because oftentimes, like you said, you think you speak well, like people get it. When we look at things like negotiation or even objection handling, and for what you do specifically for a living and how you've built that through, communication channels, how does what you do, or maybe how does it teach people, or maybe examples or something, an action step there around the idea of negotiation and objection handling? Because again, we're dealing with business people, we're dealing with salespeople. Is there anything you can lend to that in terms of maybe a tip or an idea there, a thought for them?
Absolutely. Never handle objections. You're not doing anything objectionable. So objections don't exist in my world.
Listen, what you just said was a very jarring comment, a very jarring statement, because all we talk about is objection handling.
I
I
know,
like this. I like this. Go. Yeah, yeah, go for it.
and that's why people struggle with them,
Okay.
because at its core, you are accepting the entire premise that your prospect can object to what you're doing, which makes you objectionable. So you are internalizing that what you're doing is not worth buying by virtue of accepting the frame of that whole dynamic. So I don't even have a problem with objection handling. I have a problem with objections completely, right? So that's a reframe.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have instead? All of what you're calling objection handling is clarifying or dealing with obstacles to buying. Because if they're confused about what it is you're offering, if they're confused about what it is that they're buying, they're not going to buy. So they need to have clarity around the offer, and that should be done earlier in the sales conversation so that when you get to, and here's how much it costs, they already understand the value that you're providing. But then there might be some genuine obstacles to buying that are between them and being your client. And now it takes creative opportunity finding to find interesting ways to make the deal work still. So maybe it's, I don't have that money on hand. Okay, payment plan. Whatever that creative solution is, but neither of those are, I'm objecting to what you've just said.
I had a mentor of mine who says that if they object to price, if you're haggling on price, you fail to prove your value. And it came to mind as you just said what you said there around objection. I thought that was a really awesome way to reframe the entire idea there around one, accepting objection, and two, what is it actually an objection, or like you said, maybe if it's money, okay, what are solutions to that?
Mm-hmm.
But about
Because
proving your value is absolutely huge.
right, because there's price, cost, and value, and who gets to determine what is on different sides of the aisle there. And in my book, the instant you say price, you're now into negotiation. You are no longer selling.
Right.
And the only way that somebody can understand the value of what they're getting is based on what you've explained to them before you say price. And a huge problem I see is that salespeople get so close to what it is that they do that they'll use some fancy tagline or term, and in the salesperson's head, that means all this other stuff, but their client doesn't understand that that means all this other stuff. They think it's this one little thing. So when you're saying comprehensive onboarding, and you're getting this and that and this and that and that and that and that, well, they're just saying comprehensive onboarding. Okay, that means you're going to email me something? I don't know. So then when you say the price, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to charge me an extra $5,000 for onboarding, and all I'm getting is an email? Like, that's the white
Right.
glove
Yeah,
treatment
yeah.
from them? Oh, okay. No thanks. And now you're working uphill against their confusion. That's your fault, by the way. You just made it harder for them to say yes to doing business with you because you didn't help them understand the value you're bringing to the table. So you've got to take a lot longer to help them understand what all of doing business with me means, so that when you name price, they're going, holy cow, that's amazing. Same price, same deliverables, but how you communicated it is different. And you've got a fantastic new client versus somebody's leaving to go with somebody they found off Fiverr.
Very interesting perspective on that. I think that's something that everybody who's tuned in right now, you got to dig deep on that one, right? It's about establishing the value. It's about being clear on what you're offering, about what you bring to the table before you even get to the numbers.
Yeah.
right?
And
Because once you get to the numbers, that's right. I'm looking at going, well, what am I getting for those numbers? If there's not a
exactly.
value there,
Right. Deeper, like the other side of that same thing that I see the most often with salespeople is the profound narcissism of believing everybody thinks the way that you think.
right?
That shows up like, if I were them, I would just be sitting here going, tell me the number already. And here you are still doing all this blah blah, and that's going to kill the deal for me. So I would do that. So I know every one of my leads will be doing that. And I don't want to lose the deal. So let me just start with price.
You're saying that's the wrong way to go about it, though.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. You have to communicate. Here's what I do. Here's how I do it. Here's why I do it that way. Here's why it benefits you. Here's how it avoids all the most common pitfalls that I'm sure you've seen working with other consultants who aren't nearly as good as me. You have to have all of that conversation before you start talking price.
This is an interesting one. This thing about talking to people. Okay, it's been a theme so far in today's conversation, as we are talking to each other. We are speaking to an audience right now. You, to start your business, you were at these shows and these events, and then it was communicating with others. And again, for most of our listeners, there really is an imperative need to talk to people, in order to achieve even more success. Yet we've got so many people that claim to be so introverted that they don't want to talk to people. And I tell many people, I said, I'm the most extroverted introvert you've ever met, or most introverted extrovert you've ever met. Put me on a stage in front of thousands. I can do what I got to do. And if you've seen me do it, I have a lot of fun doing it. I definitely don't seem nervous by any means. Take me out of that and say, okay, what do you want to do? I'd love to go ride my motorcycle. And that's a solo endeavor right there. Right. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's interesting, but as I was again, looking up and preparing for today's show, I had seen this, and I wanted to ask you about that, because as we talk about talking to people, what can we all learn today from the infamous Harry Houdini about building our own personal brands?
Everything he did.
Just done. Period.
Is good.
Go
Yeah,
read.
read up on him. He's real smart. Next question.
Yeah.
No, I like you. I don't care how you recharge your batteries.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do what you have to do to accomplish the goals you've set for yourself. So I'm an outgoing introvert. I've learned how to be on stage. I've learned how to talk to people because early on, junior high, high school, I was super shy and introverted, but I saw that the folks who were able to connect with other people, stand up for themselves, and ask for what they want were the people who got what they wanted. So not talking to people is a great strategy for getting nothing, because everything you want, somebody else has and wants to give it to you for some reason. You just have to figure out what that is. You have to do that by talking to them. So Houdini was born in Budapest, immigrant family to America. So it's kind of starting on the back foot to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the greatest trick that he did is appreciate what the experience is like beyond what he's doing. Because if you read up on any of the methods, they're clever and ingenious. They're incredible engineering. However, it was the experience he would create on stage for the audience that was nail-biting. And for example, there's one where he's in a milk can full of water, and then it's locked shut. And
Famous one, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
they're right. He would get out in a couple of seconds and then just sit behind the curtain while the timer's ticking, and everybody's like, try holding your own breath. See how long you could last. This is how long Houdini is going to be underwater. And the timer's ticking, and people are having to take a breath, And in their head, he's still underwater. He's getting credit for having these incredible lungs, which he really did have. But in this experience, he's just sitting there waiting for the right time. So from a skill standpoint, it's get out of the can. That's it. That's it. From a presentational angle,
that's it, folks. Thank you.
right. From a presentational angle, it's have the wherewithal to understand that taking longer makes it appear to be more difficult and therefore impressive. And to anchor this in business talk, if you're getting paid by the hour, you're incentivized to make it take longer. But now the audience is more scared that it's going to take forever and their project's going to die because you want to charge them more. So they want you to make it happen as quickly as possible. So by the project means we both win. I might be able to get out real quick, but it's going to be such an amazing experience that you're going to wish I had taken longer. Right? So there's just lots of lessons that you could learn from Houdini.
Well, look, I mean, again, as we brought up this idea around branding and communication, experience is a big one. I was just having this conversation with some clients of mine yesterday, and when you look at the apps in the technology world today, it's very much about the UE, the user experience, right? And which ones win are the ones with the better user experience. Well, now you come back to dealing with people one-on-one rather than through technology, and we call it the CE, the client or customer experience, right? And this is exactly what you just defined there as to how Houdini became Houdini. He was doing his thing, and there's many people trying to do their thing. Why was he able to win? He created an experience.
Exactly.
So I think when it comes to, kind of tying that together from a branding perspective, that experience that you provide is what people will talk about after, and that's what more people will desire and come to expect, and hence there's where success comes from. Now, as we talk about communication, we talk about introvert, extrovert. How do we hold, or even how do we get out of conversations with other people, no matter whether we are introverted or extroverted, and still fully knowing that we do need to talk to others to grow our own success? Because we find communication's a difficult one. And again, some people being like, I don't want to talk to people. Well, you have to. Well, I don't know what to say. Or you get that person that walks up to you and they're like, hey, how's it going? You're like, good. And they stand there staring at you and thinking, you came up to me. What's up? Right? And they just look at you and you're like, oh my God, I got to say something.
Yep. One of my mentors, James Randi, who... fascinating character, and there's a documentary about him called An Honest Liar. If you have Netflix, go watch it.
I thought about The Honest Lawyer, I think. Maybe it's okay.
Honest Liar, because Randy would always say, listen, Jonathan, we're the only honest liars. We stand on stage, we tell them that we're going to lie to them, and then we do. That's what makes our profession worthy and honest. Right.
Nice spin.
Yeah. Like so he was super famous. Like back at the height of his career, he was a 2-part guest on Happy Days. Like that was how, like, where he was. He hung upside down from a helicopter and got out of a straitjacket over Niagara Falls. Like that's his pedigree. Right. So for 13 years, I helped him run a science conference that he organized in Vegas to work as a fundraiser for his foundation. And everybody there loves Randy. So I got to see him be famous with people who were absolutely starstruck. People who would come up, they've been dreaming of the day where they get to meet Randy, and all of their practice failed them. Because they walk up and they go, "You're Randy." And that's it.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's one of those right there. You're like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I got to see how Randy would help those people feel comfortable meeting somebody famous without him being a total pompous butt about it.
Yeah.
So he was so gracious and understanding and accommodating, and he would have shtick, preset patterns that would make people laugh and go, oh, he's so clever and witty. But it's the same handful of jokes It's just the audience changes. So if you've got certain patterns of shtick for certain situations you find yourself in on the regular, you don't really have to spend that much time and energy coming up with something in the moment. Just have your handful of shtick,
Hmm.
and that goes a long, long way.
Yeah, and these are some of the things that I know, through a lot of the work that we do with our clients, our audiences, is to come up with some of that shtick of what can I say, how can I do it, where do I take it, and a big part to that is, in some way, shape, or form, controlling the conversation, take control of it, be able to really make it about them. And then, as you're controlling, if they ask you anything, you're almost deflecting, make it back about them, then kind of summarize what just happened. And this could be a 60-second long conversation, or this could be a 5-minute long. Summarize it and then basically wish them all the best, and kind of there's your exit, right? And
Exactly.
you're off the stage left, kind of thing. And it's
Right.
again, it's a shtick, right? There's others out there, but I see what you're saying with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Question I got to ask, and this was more again through the digging that I did prior to today's show. Very interested to know. What would you say is the most powerful force in life?
It's relationships. That's it.
Simple and plain. I like
That's
that.
it.
I was
Because
curious. I didn't know where you're going to go with that.
yeah, it because it's your relationship to your resources. It's your relationship with your problems. It's your relationship to your opportunities. It's your relationships to other people. It's your relationships to other people's networks. It's that relationship, the dynamic, distance, momentum, it's all there. And if you can reframe your relationship with your problems as opportunities, suddenly the world gets a lot better. If you reframe your relationship with objections as, I no longer have objections because what I do is good and it helps the world and is not objectionable, therefore I will help my clients with clarity in removing obstacles to me helping them. You've just changed your entire life by changing your relationship to your own work. Like there's nothing else that has that kind of transformative power in reality.
Look how simple that is. Like, business, life, anything you want, introverted or not. You said
Doesn't
it
matter.
before, you need people. There's going to be
Hmm.
somebody somewhere that has what you want.
That's
I want to
it.
go find a cabin in the woods, and I don't want to be near anybody. Well, somebody's got to deliver you something at some point.
That's it. And
But
and
even,
from my playbook, it's
yeah,
go make yourself valuable to somebody who's already doing it
right.
so that you can learn their recipe and then go bake their recipe for yourself. It's not that difficult. It's really simple.
And I know that even as we talked about how you and I connected prior to getting on air, somebody well has been a very, relationship wise, who basically created this list, is somebody that, again, relationship, it you know it's obviously open doors for you. Now I'm curious, um you're on America's Got Talent. Did that come from relationships? I mean, did that come from the perseverance part? How did you get on the show? What was it like? And I guess maybe most importantly, what did you learn from the experience itself?
This is a whole nother master's class in mass
Just the
communication.
encyclopedia again, eh?
Yeah, because America's Got Talent is a show about things that really happened, but it is not a reality show.
Mm.
It's a show about a talent show. And you're hyper aware that you could be represented in a way that you would not like for your brand because you don't have final edit control over what it is that you do.
Right.
For example, say you went out on stage and you got a standing ovation from that audience. At broadcast, you get booed off the stage. Now, you really walked on that stage. You really performed on that stage. You walked off of that stage. The booing really happened from a different performer.
Right.
So the booing is really a thing that happened during the show.
But it wasn't to you.
But it wasn't to you.
Ooh.
But everything the audience sees really happened, but maybe not in the way that they're seeing it happen.
Timeline.
Right.
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 So what was your takeaway from all this then?
If you're a performer,
don't believe everything you see, like
right. Well, nothing on television is real.
Yeah.
Like this gets into metaphysics real quick because those aren't really people in your TV. They're not there. They're not real. That's light coming from a panel. None of that's real. So at multiple levels, none of it's real at all. So the instant it hits a camera, it's no longer reality. However, human beings, we believe in symbols so much that it's indistinguishable from reality, which is why the language that you use and how you think about things dictates the reality that you can experience, which is your relationship with your opportunities and your challenges and all that kind of stuff, which is why if you can change your mind, you can change your life.
Right.
That's where that comes from. So how I got there is kind of on the relationship side because, peek behind the curtain, yes, there is the open cattle call for anybody with a dream who wants to stand in line for 6 hours to get 30 seconds chance in front of a camera to prove their worth as a human being because this means everything to me, right? Okay, you can do that. But also the producers understand this is a TV show and they're getting paid by the quality of their work and that there are real good performers who understand everything that they're walking into and still willingly make the Faustian bargain of, I know you could misrepresent me, but also it's valuable if I have the America's Got Talent credit on my list of clients. Okay, sure, I'll do this devil's deal. So the producers, of which there are many, are going to reach out to every agent on planet Earth. And then my agent gets a call every year or an email, be like, hey, it's time again for casting for America's Got Talent. Does your roster want to be on the show? Have them reach out to me. And that producer, I guess, gets rewarded for how many people get on the show that come through them. So it's just this bizarre agent of agents kind of thing. So my agent will just be like, you guys want to try out for the show this year? Or here's the email to do. So it's this weird kind of reality of the business that's different from, oh my goodness, my life will change forever aspirational thing. It's more of a, all right, do I want to do this year? Sure, why not? So you reach out to the producer and they go, okay, where are you? Chicago? Cool. We're going to be in Chicago on these 3 dates. Which day do you want to drop by? Okay, do you want the 2, 3, or 4 o'clock slot? Because you're going to go to this table, check in, then go to that room. And then you shoot basically like 4 weeks worth of episodes in one day, but you don't know that's what's happening. But while you're there, they're going to try to get as much from you as possible. So you shoot in front of 2 people and 1 camera guy. Then you go to another waiting room. And then some producer with a clipboard and headset comes and goes, hey, could you do that again? You're like, yeah, sure. They go, cool. Then you wait another 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Who knows? Then you get walked into another room where there's now 12 people and 3 cameras and operators. You're like, all right, cool. This is happening. This is neat. So you're going through all of that. And you do that 2 or 3 times. Then you're walked upstairs to the holding room where there's the AGT and lights and all this stuff where you're gonna get ready to go do the things you already did. So now you're doing the pickup shots to prepare to get ready to go do the things that you've already filmed.
Interesting.
So making television is not the same thing as real life
you see.
or a documentary or anything like that.
But big
Yeah.
takeaway is probably don't rely on the TV and all of that. Go to make it happen for you. Connect
TV
with
isn't
people,
real. It
build the
isn't real.
relationship.
But since most people believe in symbols, you're not a real performer until you've been on TV. And even though we're in the age of the internet where I've got a distribution channel in my pocket and a whole television studio called a phone,
Yep.
so there are no gatekeepers anymore,
Hmm.
but in the minds of most people, TV is the ultimate legitimizer because you wouldn't be on TV if you weren't good, and well, there's a faulty assertion right there.
Right, right.
But if you can put a TV credit on there, then you have more cachet as, oh, this guy's famous. I like famous people. I'll come see his show, which makes you more valuable to bookers to draw in audiences for their event.
Don't believe everything you see, I think, right?
Mm-mm.
Tell me this though. You got a book that people can download. What is it called and where can people get it?
Oh, well, the one book I would recommend to most folks is called Think Like a Mind Reader. It's
Okay.
available on Amazon. However, there is no download.
Okay. You got
You
to buy
can
it.
only buy a physical copy
Okay, cool.
for a very specific reason, which is learning how to do a magic trick or a mind reading trick shows you everything you need to be a better communicator. Because at first, you're going to try to say the right thing in the right way at the right time with the right person, and it will still not work. And your friend will be like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then you'll get better at it, and then it will now be a puzzle, which is, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And they're like, you did something tricky, I know, but all right, tell me what it is. But then you keep working at it, and then it will become miracle level where people go, I didn't know you were psychic. Like, when did you learn? When did you have the gift? That's when you know that you've mastered that communication. So the book is full of all the answers that I give people when they ask me questions after shows and in autograph
Yeah.
lines and stuff. So that's 20 chapters packed full of all that kind of answer you could think of. And the book's design has a certain method that empowers you to use the book as a prop that helps you read your friend's mind, which
Ooh,
is the
interesting.
ultimate meta lesson that I want you to learn from reading the book, is to be a better communicator. So you're going to use the book as a prop to become a better communicator, to do a mind reading trick with your friends. You can't do that in a digital version, which is why we'll never sell a digital version of that book.
Cool. And not even Audible.
No.
Okay. Okay. So think like a mind reader. And you said Amazon?
Yep.
Go to
It's on
Amazon,
Amazon.
get that book, Think Like a Mind Reader. Um, End of the day, like today, tomorrow, yesterday. How do you know once you've ended your day that it's been a successful day for you?
I don't feel like a sack of crap. I've written something, I've created something, I've spent time with the people I care about. That's a very, very tight list, right? My wife, my kid,
Yep.
friends, family. So I've spent time with people I care about. I've invested in relationships that matter, and I've made something beyond myself. That's usually a good day.
Once again, 278 questions later that I've asked that particular question. Nobody says money. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
Nobody ever says money.
that's great.
Jonathan, any final words of wisdom that you want to share with everybody before we take off today to help them get out there, build more mind share so they could get more market share?
I guess the only thing I would say is you've probably this inside and out, which is it's valuable to have somebody on the outside who doesn't have your same beliefs, who doesn't have your same problems, who can help you identify that none of that stuff's real in the first place. So that's why having an outside coach and that outside perspective is so valuable in order to build something that's beyond your wildest imagination. It's because what you need to do lives beyond the limits of your current understanding, and you're not going to find that by getting a coach that has the same problems that you have. So it's really important to have somebody in your corner who's actively invested in you and your success to help you build something beyond your wildest imaginations.
I like it. I agree with it. Jonathan, thank you. It's been a fun, insightful conversation.
My pleasure.
We've certainly been able to get into a little bit more around the mind reading part, but I understand the depths of it, which is real interesting. It goes well beyond just, again, like you said, a bunch of trickery and just jumping into your mind. But how do we actually leverage that from a communication perspective? And of course, for our listeners today, how do we take that and help everybody really just expand what it is they're doing and sort of the levels that they reach? So a big thank you for joining us today on the MindShare podcast.
My pleasure. And hopefully, yeah, I own icanreadminds.com. That's my hub to all my different projects and stuff. So hopefully, if you're still listening to this, thank you. And also you'll understand why that makes more sense beyond just the tricks. It's also like the trick to make more out of your mind.
icanreadminds.com.
That's it.
Check it out, everybody. Jonathan, big thank you.
Hey, my pleasure.
You are either listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you are there, be sure to check out the details of our upcoming Mindshare Mastermind, as well as download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more Mindshare and earn more market share. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. Of course, before we go, I want to remind you, please do not forget to go to ratethispodcast.com/Mindshare101. Leave us a review of the show. Of course, a big 5 stars. There's, just 5 stars. It can't be 4 or 3 or anything else. It's got to be 5. But no, a big 5 stars. Tell us how much you love the show. I thank you, as always, for tuning in. If we haven't yet, let's connect on Facebook and TikTok at MindShare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan101. I want to thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems, REM Magazine, and OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, for sponsoring this episode. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.